Man, you're going to be making a killing. What's that? 270 right now an ounce, and it's going down. Good. That's an awesome sign. So yeah. If the only commodity I'd say right now is gold.
Could you comment on the bad guys? I mean, we're talking about people that have trillions of dollars. They must have some plan. I mean,
they do have a plan.
I just can't think that this thing is all over.
It's not all over. This is going to be a very, very dangerous month. I try to be positive about everything, but I cannot, and nobody can gauge what these people are planning to do. I think it was 2 weeks ago, I heard rumors that, and it's actually not rumors because it was verified, but I don't know what they were originally planning to do, that we actually, did you know that we have U.S. missile silos up north in the Arctic? You guys all know this? How come I didn't know this? I found out that silos were open. They'd open them. You know what that means in real terms? You don't open a missile silo and expose where it is unless you're planning on using it. And these missile silos were pointed down towards North America. In other words, their desperation, if this particular coup had not occurred, I have a feeling they would have tried to use these nuclear missiles on North America. That's how close we were getting. I don't think it's going to happen anymore. I doubt it. I think it's all over, but who knows what they could try and do to cause a panic. If the stock market crashed, they may use financial crisis to allow them to hold control, but I think it's already over. But you never know. I listened to a tape recorder of a spirit, an entity who was actually channeling through somebody, and they actually said, and I listen to everything, I keep an open mind about everything. They actually said that there's going to be some serious challenges over the next few months. They said the same thing way before I got this email, and they said on the spiritual level, the war has been won. We've already won, but there will be some problems, and there will be a few casualties and some serious repercussions, financially speaking, and a few lives will be lost in the meantime. But they said on a spiritual level, where all time is now, I think this is an illusion that we're in time. They say we've already won. This is over. But there's going to be some challenges over the next few months, and the main thing they want to avoid is fear. Got to gut through it. It's going to happen, but you got to not worry about it because it's going to come out clear in the end. But the main thing is you got to protect your finances. Larry.
One thing that's been happening in the U.S. is that the stock market's been very volatile, and because the stock market's all controlled through the DTC, that they are actually training us to see large swings in the stock market. And so that's going to continue to happen. I actually have been hearing from independent sources other than you too, that the next couple of months is going to be a very volatile time. I'd like to know what that time is, but you know, I have also been hearing that same thing. Would you comment though on numismatic coins, because a lot of people ask me about that, and those are different than just plain gold.
Yeah, I mean, I know a little bit about numismatic coins, but to be honest with you, I'm not a real expert in that. I mean, you'd actually have to even define what that means. I've heard of it so many times, and I know it's. Are you talking about the gold coins that are like the $1 US coins? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. That actually, to me, is Ron actually told me that if you're going to buy gold and silver coins. Like the small 1/10 ounce gold coins is the highest currency you should actually buy, and you should actually buy about 50 to 60% silver, low currency coins, and the rest in small gold coins. Because you're not going to, if the currency drops, you will have way more leverage with a gold coin. But if gold's up 5 times in value, a 1/10 ounce gold coin is going to be worth $1,500. Not $1,500. What I'm saying, an ounce coin, it's going to be worth $1,500. Well, that's kind of hard to bargain with. I mean, unless you're using it to pay rent or something. But they say for normal purchases, buy silver mostly, and that'll get you through for the year of volatility that's going to happen. Most people aren't going to have it, so your actual value is going to be even higher than ever because you're going to buy it at the lowest. And remember something, right now, if gold is $270 an ounce, I bought my gold at the lowest rate it had ever been in years, which was $266. And I bought I guess that's what it is, numismatic gold coins. I bought 1/10 Canadian maple leaf coins, and I've still got them. I'm keeping them as a hedge. But that was the lowest. If it's $270 now, this is definitely the time to buy it, because at the very worst, if nothing happens, it goes back up to $285 to $290. You haven't lost anything. You'll gain a little bit. It's like built-in interest. Go get whatever you can in gold coins now. You need to come up here for questions. Okay.
Alex, can you just comment on offshore banking, and what are your feelings on the safety of offshore banking with everything that you're talking about right now?
Well, you know, with the IRS situation right now, the IRS has actually said that they are, unless for offshore banks, if the offshore bank wants to participate in the system, they actually have to allow for the full transparency, as Larry was saying. I saw the letters that actually went out to these banks. I actually got a copy of one of them, and it's very boring, by the way, but I got the gist of it. And it says, if you are wanting to participate by using United States dollars, we're not going to let you use United States dollars unless we actually find out what you're doing with it. We have the right to do this. And that is actually the Rothschilds coming in and saying, and the Rockefeller, actually more the Rockefellers this time, saying that we've got to get control of this money back again because it's too much out there. So there is probably not going to, it's probably not going to go very far if the current situation is playing out the way it is without any changes. I think the international banking scene will get back on stable feet again because most of the international banks are telling them where to go. There were some real serious concerns. I talked to Ron about it, and he said, yeah, no, my bank is having a real problem right now with this one because it's going after U.S. citizens. It's not going after Canadians dealing in U.S. dollars or any other citizen of any other country. It's going after U.S. citizens who have more money outside of the United States than any other country has U.S. dollars. So there's more U.S. dollars in Hong Kong and China right now than there is in offshore Caribbean countries. But it's more to catch the American citizens because they're supposed to pay taxes no matter where they live. But I don't think that's going to last very long before it collapses. I think that's a last-ditch effort, and it's not going to work. Okay, all right.
Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
Good.
Can you speculate on a couple of things here? One of them is, you know, a lot of people do have a little bit of excess capital to work these strategies, but question one, what about a lot of people have been put into a situation when they're in serious poverty here because of policy,
that's part
government
of the problem,
policy?
isn't it? Yeah, serious
Number
poverty.
two, is it the kind of situation where you're going to have to take because the value of money's going down, are you going to have to take a wheelbarrow in order to buy essential products and things like that for the average Canadian
for a
citizen?
while. It won't be that bad. I mean, it won't be as bad as Germany, where inflation was, I think after World War I, inflation in Germany was 100% a month. It was insane. That's different than what we're talking about. Devaluation here, everything's going to go up and then it's going to stabilize at a certain rate where it should be. So you're not going to walk around with wheelbarrows, but yeah, you're going to have $50 bills to buy, you know, a half a tank of gas, where right now you cost maybe $35.
Well, how is it going to affect some of the social programs we have in Canada, like welfare?
Very serious problems with social programs.
Family allowance, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's all speculation. I can't tell you where it's going to go with that one, because this is all I've got to work with. And until yesterday morning, I didn't even know if it was true. And I'm getting the word, yeah, it is true. There's going to be some serious stuff happening. And yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. I have no idea what's going to collapse, what isn't. I'm hoping that it stabilizes pretty quickly. One thing, do not, anybody, if you guys understand something, understand whether it's your religion or whether it's your belief in common law, you are all to help other people who cannot help themselves. That's the way it was meant to be.
Can I mention
Please.
something else?
You bet.
Social capital. The greatest force on this planet is social capital. And two experiments happened, was the flood in Manitoba and the power outage in Montreal.
Yes.
It's people coming together.
Yes.
That is such a powerful form. It's better than any kind of money you can ever get.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about the government programs. You know, if you've got people who need a hand, who need help, get together and do it. Don't wait for the government. We'll show them that we don't need them that way. We can go back to where it was before. Before the turn of the century, we all helped each other. We didn't rely on the government for anything. That's why we didn't need an income tax. That's why we didn't need a GST. We didn't need anything. Okay, so be prepared to understand that it is your God-given duty to turn around and help your fellow man and woman. Do not turn around and say, oh, the government's going to be collapsing and I'm going to be in trouble because I can't rely on them. They are not your parent. Don't get used to that idea that the government is your parent and without them you are helpless. It's not true. Okay, and if you have a problem, call up a friend, call up a neighbor, say, hey, I need a hand here. Or I'm out of food, can we figure out, can we pitch in? And I don't have any money right now, but I'll do some work and I'll get some money and I'll pay you back. Do whatever is necessary. I'm not saying it's going to get that bad, but the mindset can make it a lot more worse than it is.
Hello, Alex. Michael here.
Hi, Michael.
I just wanted to share two little things. One, there was an article in the Globe and Mail I have photocopied on my fridge. It was recent. It's a month and a half old. The fellow talks about the price of gold going anywhere up to about $600 US an ounce, with spikes up to over 5,000 in the next little while. And he says debt is the glue. The amount of US dollars out there, there's almost 20 trillion US dollars in fiction and in bills floating around the economy. And there's a man named Barry Randall out of Ottawa that started a Center for the Restoration of the Gold Standard. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's a stockbroker.
Oh, yeah.
And he's put out a little booklet, about 50 pages, gives you a history of gold and all that stuff. And he figures that if the US dollar as a reserve currency of the world, which most countries use it as, except for Canada and Britain and that, to a little extent we do, but he said if the US dollar was tied to gold to stabilize it, because all this craziness going to go on, he said it'll be up to $50,000 an ounce, US.
Possible. I don't know if it'll go up to $50,000 an ounce, but I'll tell you right now, if the demand is where I think it is, it's going to go at least to $2,000 an ounce.
If it was 100% reserve, that's what he's talking about.
100, oh yeah.
That's just relevant. If gold was going to cost $35,000 anyway.
Yeah. That's expensive toast.
Hey Alex, I was just wondering where I would go to get some gold.
Oh, that's easy. Good question. See, you came up with the best question of all. Get right down to the facts, buddy. Come on, where did I get the gold?
Dawson Creek, Yukon.
You can get it from a currency and coin store or a currency exchange store. Don't get it from a bank, whatever you do. They don't deal in gold. They don't believe in it. So you can actually go to any kind of coinage store. They'll actually order it for you. They don't carry it there, but they can order whatever you want. And try to order silver more than gold. And you can get it. The only problem is that, believe it or not, they charge you GST sometimes. You got to watch that. You can tell, hey, wait a minute, what's GST on that? I don't want to pay GST. That's ridiculous. And if you guys aren't members of International Humanity House, get a card so you don't have to pay GST. But yeah, you can get it from a coin and currency dealer.
Okay.
All right. So I think that's where I got mine from.
Hi, Alex. I overheard a question in the audience that people might be interested in. What do you think is going to happen with interest rates and the savings accounts people have in the bank?
Wow, the hardest question I've ever come across. What's going to happen with interest rates? Okay, guys, help me out here. We're talking to something completely unheard of. Okay, interest rates are based on fiction. They're based on money that doesn't exist. Anybody? What's going to happen to interest rates? I have no idea. I'm not kidding. It went up so high. If you're in debt, you're a deep caca. I think you're right. I think it's going to go through the roof, interest on it.
Are you saying that we might see a replay of what happened in the early 80s with the real estate market in Vancouver, the inflation or the interest rates being so high that people walk away from their houses because they can't pay the mortgage?
It was, what, 23% for a while there? Prime was 23%. I don't know, you younger ones here don't remember that, but it was crazy. Yeah, it's possible that's what's going to happen. That's probably going to be the biggest trigger of all, is the interest rates going through the roof. Young man, you need to come over here. Speak it. Oh, okay, that's true. Who are you going to go borrow from if the system collapses? Yeah. From what I understand, they're saying in the email is that they have ready to go a brand new system, but there's going to be a few months of disarray. If they announce it and everything starts falling down, we're going to have probably going to have a few months of problems, but they're going to come up with it. If the Bank of Canada is disbanded right away, and then they start printing up government bills, and we start using those and putting back into circulation by your earnings. Understand something, folks. You guys create something out of nothing, okay? When you go to work, was it a transfer of money? No, it wasn't a transfer of money. You actually created brand new wealth that day by using your mind, using your hands, okay? You are creative. You created that brand new. Within a few months, we'll have created so much wealth that is represented by this brand new money the government creates to put it into circulation, that we can actually go back to a stable economy in relatively short time. So as we continue to produce, our wealth of our country is phenomenal, okay, with the people we have and our resources we have. We'll be able to, I think we'll be okay after a while, but it will probably be a bit of craziness in the beginning.
Alex, I want to ask a question about the use of the signature or name.
Yes.
sometimes I hear people talking about people that still file a tax return, whether or not they should sign their old way or the new way. And today, my understanding from you is that they definitely should not use the signature.
Yes, you would not use the way we were talking about with the little colons, the full colons here. You wouldn't sign a tax return this way if you were still an entity, because you as a natural person are not agreeing to allow that jurisdiction over your natural person status. Just scrawl it. If you're going to stay in the fiction, use a fiction name. Don't mix the two up. Okay, the jurisdiction of a natural person has to stay within your rights as a sovereign natural person. So you don't allow that to be put over you. You don't accept upon yourself the trustee of being a fiction by agreeing as a natural person to accept it.
Okay, so, and also if we don't sign our checks that way, could you give some examples of how we could start using our name in that manner?
You would use it under you would use that name, that form of signature for example, using it with a constructive notice to remove yourself from being a taxpayer. That's one way. Bruce, any suggestions on how to sign your name or when to use your name, the Miller style? What documents have you used it for? You don't use it for checks and things of that nature, right? You don't want to cross the jurisdiction.
Because what you're doing now is when you use that name, you're demonstrating you have knowledge of what fact looks like. When you take fact and use it in a fiction contract, you've infected it with knowledge. So use it with these contracts that I have.
So yeah, actually, Bruce has got a point there. Yeah, use it with a contract. If you have a contract written in a fact, which you'll never see normally, you probably wouldn't even understand it because it didn't even sound like English until you get used to it. That's the only time, other than that, the constructive notice where you would actually use that particular signature, because you're in a fact jurisdiction, a noun jurisdiction, rather than the fiction. But anything in the fiction world, you don't want to use that because you as a natural person are not agreeing as a natural person with your sovereignty to accept that fiction upon yourself. So it's very rare that you'll use that. Okay, in the fiction world, you never do. Never mix them together.
Just dealing on the money owed again, if the interest rates might fluctuate or whatever, but say for instance if a person has some leeway in the bank where you've got credit available to you, right, would it be opportunist to use that credit for gold purposes?
Pretty risky. I don't know about that one. What's the clapping for?
Because what would you be
owed? What you're doing is you're going into debt in a fiction system with artificial money to buy something tangible that you're hoping will offset.
You're buying something that's real.
You're buying something that's real. It's a bit tricky, okay, because I don't know what's going to happen with the interest rates. I don't know where it's going. I would try to stay away from borrowing any money at this point for any reason. Use whatever assets you have that are liquid and turn them into gold. If you have stocks in the stock market, for crying out loud, this is the time to get rid of them. It's volatile anyway. We've had a 12-year bull market. Take your profits and run with it, and buy the gold right now. People were panicking before 2000 because they thought the bug was going to do it. But you know what? I think that was psychological preparation for us for this particular time. I'd say don't borrow anything right now for any circumstances because you still owe it legally back, and I don't really think it's a good idea.
So now it's time to YK ourselves again then, is it?
YK yourselves? Yeah.
And the other thing too, e-gold.
E-gold. I wouldn't trust e-gold as far as I could throw it, okay? Do you have physical possession of the gold in e-gold? I don't. I don't have e-gold, so I can say that way. But those folks are doing a similar thing to that the international bankers did 250 years ago. They're starting to realize, oh, look at that. We don't actually have to have that much gold because nobody's asking for it back. That's what the Rothschilds did 250 years ago. Why are we doing the same thing again with e-gold? I know, yes, they have gold, they can back it up, but how many people ask for it? I would actually ask for your gold back right now, physically. They could go like that tomorrow, disappear, and they've got billions of dollars worth of gold right now that they're sitting on. That temptation is going to be too big for them to just give it back to you. Right. All right, so no, e-gold is not a good idea. I never really was comfortable with it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Alex. If we if we already like have a mortgage that has a fixed rate for a certain length of time,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a problem then. Except
everybody's going to be stuck with it. No, I wouldn't think that's a. If you have a mortgage, you've got a fixed rate, and especially if you got a fixed rate, that's great. But realistically speaking, if everybody lost their houses, who's going to buy it? Like, you know, there's a point where it doesn't make any difference anymore. If it's a widespread thing and everything's crashing at the same time, who's going to take it? So there's nothing they can do about that. It's not the bankers that are manipulating this. This is one thing you remember. 1929, the stock market crashing, the depression, all these things. These were manipulated by the bankers. The stock market actually was not. It didn't happen by itself. It was actually created by the Rockefellers after they transferred all their money out of the stock market. They crashed it and they bought it again. It was set up. This time it's not the same thing. The bankers are not in control now. So everything's collapsing because it's going to be a new monetary system. So we're talking never been done before. This is so new. We have no idea where it's going, but I wouldn't panic about houses and things like that. Just have faith that, hey, you're not going to lose your house. What are they going to do? Send in an army to everybody in the lower mainland and take their houses away? What are they going to do with the houses? Like, I'm sorry, but my shotgun is bigger than your piece of paper, pal, you know? So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
And also, I heard someone speak in May who predicted exactly what you're talking about.
Is that right?
Just as a confirmation. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good to hear, I guess. Maybe not.
Two questions.
Okay.
I've seen your name written Reverend. Are you an actual minister?
Yes.
Okay. Next question is about banking. There's a lot of bank information coming out that most bank contracts are fraudulent because there is no exchange of goods. They didn't really lend you some.
Yeah.
Would a constructive notice, as you apply it to Revenue Canada, be of any...
Any use
do you
there
do you have to, yeah, can you use it to advise them that you know the truth now and you're not going to participate in them and you're really...
Ethically speaking, I wouldn't agree with doing that. Legally speaking, there is a way to remove that. You can remove all your debt that a bank, all the money you borrowed from a bank, whether it's through credit cards or whether it's through a loan, you can wipe it out. There is a way to do it. Because there's a difference between fiction and fact and how the money's created. There is a way to actually do it. In fact, all you need is you don't even need a constructive notice. You just need a letter.
Because it's contract fraud, though.
Yes,
Because
it
they
is a contract
said on the
fraud.
contract that they're lending you something
That's
of theirs.
Right. Yeah.
And it can be shown that they didn't.
They didn't. Actually, you're right. They are not loaning you any money. By you signing the bottom line of a loan agreement, you've actually created that money.
That's right.
It was thanks to you that the money went into circulation. So, yes, there is a way, but you know what? I think on a moral and ethical level, I don't think it's the right thing to do because then we're playing their game. But yes, it can be done. I'm not here to pass judgment on anybody. Wally Dove from Toronto has done it.
Yeah.
And he's busy right now, still fighting his court battles. He's doing quite well, actually.
Yes.
But he can probably provide you the information on how to do it.
I know how he does it, but I'm just wondering if the constructive notice...
No, it's not a constructive notice that would work in this case.
Okay.
Because, well, actually, you could call it a constructive notice and then word it the way Wally does, and it would still be the same effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
I think a lot of people woke up in mid 80s and 90s realizing that their pension funds weren't going to be there for when they retired.
Like the CPP.
Sorry.
You can get a little closer.
Repeat.
Follow the mic.
Okay, yeah. Anyhow, so a lot of people got into putting their money into mutual funds.
Right.
Okay, and that got this whole thing going with derivatives and the $1 trillion circulation going with the World Casino. And the banks got involved in it in the whole game. They have boiler rooms where they have like billions of dollars floating all over, working on currencies and things like that.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect people's nest eggs that have mutual funds?
It's going to lose. They're going to lose it.
Lose it
They're going to
completely?
lose it. Yeah. Pretty well. Most of it is going to be gone. It's all fiction. It's going to be gone. I hate to say that. That's the worst part about saying this, but most pension funds, or most mutual funds, you'll lose most of the value will be gone. They won't lose it technically. What you're going to do is lose the value, so it's going to be worthless.
So they'll be bankrupt.
They'll be bankrupt.
Yeah.
The funds themselves will be bankrupt. That means your money, that whatever you had put in there, and are relying on for your retirement, won't be there.
Okay, now.
But if there's no income tax as well, it doesn't take you long to get back on your feet again.
Yeah.
Got to look at both sides of the coin, the equation here. Okay.
Yeah.
So
But if you
I don't know. We'll have to.
If you have a loan out and where's the accountability here? With the banking industry as well as the government.
Where's the accountability?
Yeah, because you put your money in trust.
Yes.
And that's what most people think business is about money. It's about trust first.
Right.
So where's the trust? How do you go about bringing that equation of trust? Especially some people can't. There's not the same opportunities as there were, but like for some people, because like they're in their 50s, 60s, they can't get into the high tech industry and.
Oh yeah, no, I realize that, and that's where I have to say, if we can't save those people's finances, or we save them financially, we're going to have to save them emotionally, and we're going to have to save them to make sure that they're not destitute. If it takes us doing what we have to do, but my gut feeling tells me that within 2 years, if this is real, okay, I'm sorry, but it's too far-fetched for me still. I don't care if Ron told me that, to believe it. But if it is true and it happens within 2 years, if we have no income tax, we got our control of our money back, we're actually going to have enough money back in the kitty to be able to take care of the people that actually need it, like the old folks and stuff that don't have a source of income. We can take care of them within a year to 2 years, but in the meantime, we need to bridge it by making sure we do take care of them if we need to.
One more question. What will, Canada's debt, what is it, 500-600 billion? What's going to happen to that?
Actually, Canada's debt is $5 trillion, just so you know. The real dollar figure, it's $5 trillion. Yeah. It's 10 times what they tell us.
What's going to happen to that?
It's going to be gone. We're going to write it off. It's all fake. Cool. Yeah, we're starting from zero again. That's why we won't need an income tax anymore, because the debt's going to be gone overnight when they collapse it.
What about the GST?
GST will be gone too, as far as I know. I mean, I'm guessing at that one, but if you don't need an income tax, you don't need a GST either. We don't need that kind of money. Canada's government actually can work with putting out what's the word they use? They use bonds to support infrastructure and that sort of thing, and that's the way it should be, because then it comes back in the way of value coming back to us, and it pays it off again.
This is a possibility that it's a setup for the one world monetary system, or one world monies?
No, we were heading that way. We were heading that way originally. This is what they were already completing. They were completing the 3 trading zones of the world, which was Asia, Europe, and then North America. They were working that way towards that. And I think this has actually shot their plans down completely. I don't think this is a setup. It doesn't sound like it could work in their favor. Let's go on the hypothesis that this is all being set up for them. How would you see it? It's interesting because you got a good point. How would you see it working towards their favor?
Well, you do need to collapse what's in place now in order to put that in. I'm looking ahead.
Okay, possible. It's possible. Anything's possible. But with the way things are heading right now, they had a very strong agenda heading towards a certain goal. Maybe this is a possibility. There's one problem we run into, and I want to bring this because it's very valid. When you reach the point of discussion that we're getting here, the ground beneath you completely turns into quicksand, okay? You have no solid grounding because you could put hypothesis upon hypothesis, and you and I could have both very, very strong arguments, and we could never defeat each other. It becomes a moot point because you don't know anymore what's reality anymore. Because if you can have a conspiracy over conspiracy theory, and you might as well just go home and forget it. You have no way. At that point, I turn around and say, you know what? I have faith in the universe, I have faith in God, and I have faith in humanity, and I think it's going to work out in the end. And you have to go with your heart, because I can't give you an answer on that one. Because God, if they were that clever, they might as well take the prize, because that's pretty amazing. But they still can't beat the human spirit. That's the problem they're running into. That's why they've never been able to beat us in 8,000 years. They've been working towards it slowly. But in 8,000 years that this conspiracy of the ages has been happening, they haven't been able to beat us, because the human spirit is much stronger than the ability to control it.
So I guess what I would like to know next is, in the conversations you've had with this gentleman, does it seem like each country is indeed separate and reverting back to their...
Yeah, it's separate. They're going back to controlling their own monetary system. The reason is that currently all countries of the world, in order to be able to transact financially around the world, to be able to transfer money, they have to go through a central computer system. And that central computer system is actually controlled by the Rothschilds family that actually gets to see, all the transactions printed out, and they see where, they have a computer program, an algorithm that actually shows which money is going where, from what country to what country. They can see what countries are trading with each other. They know everything that's going on. And there's another system that is already ready to go now that completely will shut them down. and it'll be a horizontal distribution system rather than a vertical distribution system. And that's very important to understand. Vertical right now, it's like a pyramid. That's what we're always talking about. The people at the top control everything else. This is a horizontal distribution system where value for value will be transferred around the world, and it will not be siphoned off and go to the people at the top of the pyramid anymore. It's a whole brand new computer system that is actually, it's already been done and it's ready to run right now. And so it'll be replacing them. And if that's the case, then the one world government has no hope there. Okay. Last question. Okay.
Alex, if Revenue Canada personnel want to talk to me,
yes,
and I ask them, who do you work for? What would the answer be?
If you ask them who do they work for, they'll just say they work for Canada Customs Revenue Agency, and that's it.
Not for the Rothschilds.
They won't say that. They don't even know. They don't know.
So who pays them? Who do they get their paycheck
from? You know
from?
what? Nobody has a way to access the inside information on CCRA. It's top secret. You couldn't get it. Nobody knows who pays them. You know, actually, Bruce and I were thinking about we should find. We're trying finding out a CCRA agent, what bank actually cashes their paychecks. Be interesting to find that out. But it is actually controlled by the Rothschilds, even though the Rothschilds don't own it. They control it. They set it up because they wanted the government to not be able to renege on its promise to pay them back. So it's actually, controlling is not the same thing as owning. So you ask a CCRA agent, they have no clue that it's owned by the Rothschilds. They'll say they work for the Minister of National Revenue. They don't work for the Minister of National Revenue. The Minister of National Revenue contracts CCRA to collect the money. But CCRA gets to keep it, and it handles from there.
Okay, and I have one question about Ron. Just to clarify an inconsistency, if the Rothschilds said we control